Returning to Assassin's Creed Valhalla's vast world can feel daunting after months away, especially if you didn't 100% it and left much still to do. But fear not, you should feel no need to complete it all before jumping into Wrath of the Druids, the new expansion that brings Eivor to the rolling hills of Ireland. Its content is available early in the campaign and is even worth putting ahead of most of the other side quests that fill out the world. The adventuring and combat is mostly more of the same, but its new twisting tale of politics and mysticism really stands out among the best storytelling in the series. You know you're headed for a new DLC area when a new guest suspiciously arrives at the docks of Ravensthorpe with summons from a cousin who has managed to become king of one of the various warring territories of Ireland and is in desperate need of help. Eivor doesn't need much convincing after possible trade routes and riches for her clan are mentioned, but not enough time is spent making this feel smoothly integrated as a necessary next step, rather than an obvious way to access a new area that was added after the fact. Touring through Ireland itself is beautiful. After riding through the countryside over emerald hills and long sheer cliff faces, the mix of rocky hillside and colorful plains stand out starkly from England and Norway. Postcard-worthy standing stones and castles overlooking oceans add that signature stalwart ruggedness that tourists have come to identify as part of the landscape's charm. However, the great majority of Wrath of the Druids quests follow a pattern that's rigidly similar to those in vanilla Valhalla. Go find this place, take a thing from that place, and/or kill everyone in that place. Ubisoft didn't necessarily need to reinvent the huge game it created just for its DLC, but the main story quest of Wrath of the Druids still leans too heavily on recycled conquest and exploration activities we saw too much of in the main game already. The story, on the other hand, is consistently engaging throughout its roughly 10 hours playtime. The political tension of Ireland's High King Flan's attempt to unify the country is interlaced with the cultural boiling point that the several religious factions have come to.
I've an army and reputation to reclaim. The second may prove harder than the first.
Strong and charming voice performances, paired with solid character arcs full of twists and consequences, all help make the story's heavy tone more approachable. In the background, Wrath of the Druids breaks down the nuances of Christianity's slow assimilation of the region and depicts the desperate acts that the indigenous pagan people resort to when faced with the potential extinction of their ways. More so than any time in the original story, the existential dread of the conquered people felt relatable and palatable. As you get to the heart of this matter, you learn that a radicalized group of Druids, the Children of Danu, have committed themselves to preserving the old ways through violence, manipulation, and deceit, and they represent this expansion's most significant improvement to Valhalla. Mechanically, they're simply another Order of the Ancients, a list of names to investigate, hunt down, and kill. The revitalizing twist on the concept, though, is that Wrath of the Druids makes these targets a far greater focus than the main campaign, in that many of the later quests require you to actively engage with the system to progress to important story events. The whole experience is better for it. Druids that serve the children make combat a bit more interesting, to say the least. Thanks to their hallucinogenic gas, Eivor believes they have magical powers, and so for all intents and purposes, they do. It's refreshing and exciting to face a new class of foe, especially when most of the run-of-the-mill slaughter feels unsatisfyingly samey next to an already massive game full of those fights. As you'd expect from any Assassin's Creed expansion, Wrath of the Druids contains a handful of new armor sets and weapons to find, creatures to hunt, and combat challenges to face as optional side missions. You probably won't find a ton of keepers if you've already completed the campaign, but a few pieces of armor did look particularly badass. The most elaborate and useful new activity involves establishing trade posts across Ireland. Each post passively generates a new type of resource that can be used to trade for gear and renown at the Overseas Trading HQ. Like many of Valhalla's side activities, the mileage that you get from it is directly related to how valuable you find the completionist pursuit of making sure that everything that can be yours is yours. Exploration, pillaging, and kingmaking is still largely satisfying in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Wrath of the Druids, but the new Irish setting adds only a few genuinely fresh takes on the process and a handful of new and interesting fights. An expansion that largely adds more of the same activities to a massive game already bloated with them without attempting real shakeups risks feeling inessential. Instead, Wrath of the Druids' storytelling is its strongest feature, as both its main tale and side quests are bolstered by nuanced writing and clever characters that capture the many complexities of the Irish political landscape. For more, check out our review of Assassin's Creed Valhalla and our list of the best tips and tricks, and for everything else, stick with IGN.